During evening study hall, Jake Carter was about to slip a baked sweet potato into my desk when Luna Reed's blood sugar crashed again. She pressed her lips together in a pitiful pout, her eyes glistening red as she looked at Jake. "Can I have your baked sweet potato?" she asked. "I'll pay you for it." Jake handed it to her without a second thought, along with the boba tea he'd brought for me. He told her to eat slowly and not to worry about paying him back. Finally, he sat down next to me looking guilty and whispered, "Luna's on financial aid. She didn't have money for dinner, that's why her blood sugar dropped. This is all she has to eat tonight. I'm class president. It's my job to help her. Wait, I'll go buy you another one. Don't be mad at me, okay?" But this time I just smiled and said calmly, "No need." Jake, a $5 sweet potato, bought 3 times. Even the best one loses its allure eventually. "What do you mean?" Jake froze. Curious glances darted over from the desks in front and behind us. Luna froze too, clutching the sweet potato, tears welling up in her eyes, ready to spill over, looking utterly helpless and vulnerable. "Mia, please don't blame the class president. He's only taking extra care of me because I'm on financial aid," she said. "I'm sorry. If it bothers you that much, I'll give it back." With that, the tears fell. Jake's brow furrowed immediately. "Mia, what the hell are you doing? I bought those things. I can give them to whoever I want. Why are you scaring her? You know how shy she is." "I don't know," I replied evenly. "All I know is you didn't keep your promise. All I know is this is the 3rd sweet potato she's taken from me. All I know is you said there wouldn't be a next time, but there will be another one, and another one after that. So to make sure there isn't a next time, we're breaking up." The classroom fell dead silent. Jake stared at me in disbelief. "What did you say? Can't you hear me?" I gave a soft, bitter laugh and repeated. "I said, we're breaking up, over this stupid little thing." I nodded. Jake laughed bitterly, and his friends immediately chimed in. "It's just a $5 sweet potato. Is that really necessary? Mia, are you that broke you have to fight Jake over it? Helping students on financial aid is everyone's responsibility. You're acting like he cheated on you or something. That's messed up." The insults piled up, growing meaner by the second, until one of them said, "If Jake really did have a thing with Luna, it'd be your own fault for being such a brat. Luna's got everything going for her except money. She's pretty. She's soft-spoken. She's top 5 in our class. She's a shoo-in for MIT. What do you have to compare?" I couldn't help but snort. "Then why don't you ask her out?" He shut up instantly, because he knew perfectly well that no matter how smart or pretty Luna was, her background was a deal-breaker. Someone like her would never fit into their world. Their marriages were arranged to benefit their families. The atmosphere turned icy. Jake, seeing his friend embarrassed, scowled. "Mia, I was just helping a student in need. You don't have to blow this out of proportion." I smiled again. "If I remember correctly, the academic rep had low blood sugar last time you walked by. You turned her down flat, and used me as an excuse. Mia would be mad if I gave this chocolate away. What's different now that it's Luna who's batting her eyelashes at you?" The academic rep, who'd been staring at her desk, slowly looked up. She just wasn't as pretty as Luna. She was a little overweight, a little quiet, a little bad at flirting, and Jake had walked right past her without a second glance. If I hadn't happened to see her from the 2nd floor, she would have passed out cold on the ground in the 90-degree heat and ended up in the hospital. "So don't act like you're some kind of saint here." Jake fell silent, and dozens of mocking eyes turned to him. Finally, he clenched his fists and sneered. "Fine, break up if you want, but Mia Hale, don't you forget you were the one who confessed to me first. You better not come crying back to me begging to get back together. I'll never say yes." With that, he slammed the door and stormed out. Luna followed right behind him, leaving her sweet potato untouched. They both skipped the rest of evening study hall. The classroom fell quiet again. That night, I received an anonymous video. The footage was pitch black, but Jake's voice was crystal clear. She'd actually break up with me. I saved her life. For Christ's sake, if I hadn't pulled her out of that fire, she wouldn't just be deaf and one ersht be dead. The person he was talking to sounded shocked. "So Mia Hale is deaf. She's disabled." "Yeah, she wears a hearing aid in her left ear." The video cut off. Suddenly, I felt completely drained. I'd never been ashamed of being deaf in my left ear. When I was 10, a rival family set our mansion on fire. My parents were out that night, so they escaped unharmed, but I was trapped inside. The butler and all the maids had run away. Jake, who lived across the street, saw the smoke. He called the fire department immediately, then ran into the burning building to pull me out. I survived, but my left ear was permanently damaged. Jake gave me my first hearing aid. Back then, he was so worried I'd be sad that he spoke extra softly and slowly. I'll buy you all your hearing aids from now on. That way, no one will ever have to know your secret. I promise I won't tell anyone. I made your mom and dad swear too. They won't tell anyone either. A secret no one knows is like it never even happened. He was only 10 back then, just 2 months older than me. And he'd always gone out of his way to make sure I felt okay. But that 10-year-old promise was broken the year we turned 18. Childhood sweethearts, boyfriend and girlfriend, none of it meant anything in the end. I blocked the anonymous number. Right then, Jake sent me a text. We're fighting, but I dropped your hearing aid off to get fixed. I'll bring it to you tomorrow. I didn't reply. I blocked him too. It was just a hearing aid, after all. But I never expected Jake to stoop this low. The next day at school, Luna walked up to my desk holding a small bag. Her voice sickly sweet and syrupy. The class president had to go to the athletic field. He asked me to give this hearing aid to you. I had no idea you were deaf in your left ear. Mia, that's so surprising. Does it make it hard for you to practice English listening? Does it affect your exams? Her voice was just loud enough for the entire classroom to hear. Instantly, every eye in the room turned to my left ear, and whispers broke out all around me. I listened to the murmurs and felt nothing but amusement. I was deaf in one ear, not both. Suddenly, Luna gasped. Oh, I'm so sorry. Was I talking too loud? I just didn't want you to miss what I was saying. I didn't mean for everyone to find out. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She kept bowing over and over, tears streaming down her face as if she were the one who'd been wronged. Before I could figure out what game she was playing, someone shoved me hard from behind. I stumbled and slammed my stomach into the sharp corner of my desk. As pain shot through me, Jake's voice boomed. What now? What did Luna ever do to you? I just asked her to deliver something, and you're still picking on her. I gritted my teeth against the pain and turned to meet Jake's mocking gaze. Then I slapped him across the face as hard as I could. The crack of the slap echoed through the room, and everyone froze. Even Jake stared at me in shock. I'd held nothing back, and a bright red handprint bloomed on his left cheek. You hit me. Why? Do I need your permission to hit you? I shot back coldly. You should be on your knees thanking God I didn't kill you. At that exact moment, there was a knock on the classroom door. A boy glanced silently at Jake, then said evenly, Mia Hale, the teacher wants to see you. I nodded, fighting through the throbbing pain in my stomach, and brushed past Jake to walk out. His friends immediately started defending him again. Jake, you're dating a total spoiled brat. If she's this bad now, imagine what she'll be like when you're married. You need to give her the cold shoulder for a while. Jake said nothing, just stared daggers at my back. I pretended not to notice. When I left the teacher's lounge holding my test papers, the boy who'd walked with me in silence finally spoke. I knew who he was. Leo Bennett, class president of the first period. He was strikingly handsome but cold and quiet, always kept to himself. He was also on financial aid, and he'd held the #1 spot in our grade for years, beating Jake, who was second, by nearly 30 points. You should go to the nurse's office. It sounded like a statement, not a question. I looked at him but didn't answer. He frowned and fell silent again. Eventually, he headed back to his classroom, and I headed to mine. When I walked in, everyone quickly looked down and went back to their work. But when I got to my desk, I saw that all my things had been thrown in the trash. A backpack that didn't belong to me was sitting on my chair, and I knew exactly whose it was. I laughed bitterly and called the police right then and there. Jake and Luna walked back from their walk around the athletic field, all lovey-dovey, to find me sitting at my desk pointing straight at them. Officers, these two have been bullying me. Mia, that's a lie. Luna cried out immediately. You threw my backpack, my textbooks, And my test papers in the trash without my permission. You took my seat. You spread rumors about my hearing loss because you thought I couldn't hear you. That's bullying, isn't it? And I stood up slowly and lifted my shirt just enough to show the huge, dark bruise on my stomach. Everyone in this class saw Jake push me. Jake and Luna instinctively looked around the classroom. But even Jake's so-called friends were silent. Luna was just a girl on financial aid with no money or connections. If she got taken away by the police and had this on her school record, she'd lose her early acceptance for sure. She grabbed Jake's arm desperately, begging him to say something, but Jake just stared at me. His eyes filled with hurt, as if he were seeing me for the first time. But you slapped him. Luna bit her lip and said. I smiled softly and pulled my shirt back down. I was defending myself. Is that a crime? Mia, do you really have to do this? Jake asked. He didn't seem to understand that it wasn't me who'd forced Tess, it was him. In the end, both Jake and Luna were taken away to be investigated for school bullying. A lot of people in class said I was being too harsh, that I was making a mountain out of a molehill. No real harm had been done, they'd just get a talking to and be let go. But I wanted to make a scene. I wanted everyone to know that when I backed down, it was because I didn't care, not because I was easy to push around. Sure enough, Jake was waiting for me at the school gates when school ended. He'd taken off his black jacket and slung it over his left arm. In his right hand, he held a boba tea and a baked sweet potato. I almost laughed out loud. Even now, he still didn't understand what our fight was really about. Here, I brought these for you. I didn't give them to Luna even when she cried, he said, holding them out to me. I didn't take them, just stared at him calmly. What, do I have to feed you to you? He sighed and stuck a straw in the boba tea, handing it to me. I swear I must owe you something. You've put me through hell, and I'm still running around buying you boba and sweet potatoes. Is that sweet potato really that good? Is it worth all this fighting? Jake didn't understand. When I still didn't take the drink, his patience started to wear thin. Mia, what more do you want from me? I'm trying to make it up to you. Can't you just be good for once? I laughed softly. Just because you're trying to make it up to me doesn't mean I have to accept it. Jake, did you forget? We broke up. Jake's face darkened. He squeezed the boba tea cup so hard I could see he was barely holding on to his temper. But so what? I hadn't asked him to come. If I hadn't insisted on putting this in their school records, if he hadn't been trying to save Luna's skin, he never would have bothered to come apologize. Everyone does things for a reason. I'd been willing to be friends with Jake, to trust him, because he'd saved my life. So you're just going to keep being unreasonable. What does any of this have to do with Luna? She's worked her ass off to get where she is. The USA Math Olympiad is next month, and she was supposed to go. But if this goes on her record, she'll lose her early acceptance for sure. You're a rich girl, Mia. You don't care about stuff like that. But she does. Jake's voice rose, his eyes blazing with self-righteous anger. I found it absurd. Was any of this my fault? It was Jake wanting to have his cake and eat it too. It was Luna crossing lines she knew she shouldn't cross. Jake, just leave me alone. I don't want to catch your stupidity. With that, I walked past him and left. I should have broken up with him the first time he gave my food to Luna while I was starving with a stomachache. But back then, I'd still cared. I'd still held out a little hope. Until the third time. Until now, I realized that not even the life-saving debt could save this rotten relationship. But at least I'd cut my losses before it was too late. Jake stood frozen at the school gates, a lump in his throat. He still couldn't understand why Mia had made such a big deal out of nothing. She'd always been so good, so obedient. She'd never said no to him before. But this time was different. The baked sweet potato in his hand suddenly felt scalding hot. The boba tea cup crumpled in his grip, spilling over his fingers. Luna ran over to him as soon as she saw him, her voice trembling. Jake. What did she say? I can't have a disciplinary mark on my record. It'll ruin my whole future. I've worked so hard to get here. She trailed off, choking back sobs. She'd never expected Mia to go this far, to not even care about Jake's feelings. She'd started clinging to Jake out of pure jealousy. For 3 years of high school, all anyone ever looked at was Mia. She was the center of everyone's attention. Everyone loved her. People were always comparing Luna to her. Mia was confident and bright, while Luna was insecure and bitter. Even when people were nice to her, it was only because of her pretty face. Jake's friends leered at her disgustingly, slipping little notes into her backpack behind his back. They said she was pretty. They said she was smart, but none of them actually respected her. Jake was getting annoyed with her crying, but when he turned and saw her red, teary eyes, he sighed and handed her the boba tea and sweet potato. Stop crying. I'll help you. Mia has connections, but so do I. I'll talk to my dad. He'll fix this. Luna threw her arms around him immediately, hugging him tight. I knew you would. Jake, you're the best. It was dismissal time, and the sidewalk was crowded with students. Jake happened to glance over and saw the boy who'd come to get Mia earlier. The boy stood apart from the crowd, his head down, wearing wired earbuds. As he crossed the street, he lifted his eyes and met Jake's gaze for a split second. There was something unreadable in his eyes, something that made Jake shiver. That night, I was working on USIMO problems when my phone vibrated. I thought it was Luna trying to stir up trouble again, but when I opened it, there was a photo of the gate to our mansion. A white plastic bag hung on the gate, with a pharmacy logo printed on it. I was confused. Then the housekeeper knocked on my door. Miss, are you hurt? Someone left a bag of medicine hanging on the gate, with a note. She handed me the note. I looked down at the neat, elegant handwriting, strong and distinctive, and immediately thought of Leo Bennett. Did you see what he looked like? I asked. The housekeeper frowned, thinking. It was dark out, so I couldn't see very well, but he was about 6'1", wearing a black windbreaker. He was a little slimmer than Mr. Carter. That settled it. It was Leo, but we'd barely ever spoken. Ding. Apply the white ointment 3 times a day, and rub it in gently so the bruise fades. If it still hurts in a couple of days, you should go to the hospital. At the same time, a new message popped up in the class group chat. Is it just me, or are people getting crazy bold around here? Someone jumped a student right outside school. Is Jake okay? I heard they broke his arm. Who would do something like that? Everyone was speculating. That's when I found out Jake had been jumped by masked men on his way home. His left arm was broken, and he was in the hospital in a cast. Who else could Jake have pissed off recently except me? No one dared say it out loud, but someone was stupid enough to tag me. Luna. Mia, isn't it a little too far to hire people to beat up a student from your own school? Mia Hale. Jake's going to press charges for this. I smirked. I couldn't help but wonder why they hadn't beaten Luna up too. I didn't reply. Luna kept tagging me over and over, demanding an explanation, until finally the academic rep spoke up. Do you have any proof it was her? If you don't, Mia could sue you for defamation. The group chat went dead silent. When the USIMO team list was posted, Luna stared at it in disbelief and ran straight to the teacher's lounge. But the teacher just frowned and said, I told you before. There are only 2 spots. We're sending the top 2 math students, Mia and Leo. Is there a problem? Of course there's a problem. Everyone knows this competition gets you early acceptance to MIT. My overall grade is higher than Mia's. Luna broke down. The threat of a disciplinary mark had already pushed her to the edge, and now losing the competition spot was the final straw. It's based on math scores only, the teacher repeated impatiently. Luna wouldn't listen. She stared daggers at me. I hugged my test papers to my chest, not caring at all, and started to walk past her. Suddenly, she grabbed my wrist and dropped to her knees in front of me. All the teachers in the lounge froze and rushed to help her up, but she clung to my clothes desperately. Mia, please, I'm begging you, let me have your spot. You're rich, you don't need it. Why do you have to take it from me? You can take the college entrance exams, even if you mess up. Your parents will fix everything for you. But I have nothing left. I'm sorry I was mean to you. I'll apologize properly. I'll bow to you, over and over. Please. She cried harder than she ever had before. This wasn't the fake, manipulative crying she usually did. This was genuine, desperate despair. But I just stared at her calmly. Luna was a hardworking student on financial aid, and she'd once been someone I wanted to beat. But I'd earned that USIMO spot. I'd stayed up late every night doing practice problems, Hired tutors. Worked my ass off for it. Why should I give it up? My overall grade was lower than Luna's. But I had my own dream school. If you spent half as much time studying as you did chasing Jake, you'd be the one begging me for a spot right now. Luna, stop throwing a hysterical tantrum over things you couldn't earn. Jake falls for your crying. I don't. And I'm pretty sure the teachers don't either. I nodded to the teachers, smiled politely, and walked out. Luna collapsed on the floor, sobbing. The teacher tried to help her up, but she pushed her away. Leo followed me out. He was so quiet I almost forgot he was there, until he stopped suddenly and said, "Do you want me to tutor you?" I froze and turned to look at him. Our eyes met. He pressed his lips together and looked down. "I've seen your grades. You're consistently 10th in the grade. No higher, no lower. You get perfect scores in math every time. But you," he trailed off, searching for the right words. 30 seconds passed before he said, more gently, "Your English isn't very good." I raised an eyebrow. "So you want to tutor me in English?" "Yeah, I can get you up to a 93, he said seriously. I almost laughed. But I didn't. It was a tempting offer. My English grades had always hovered right around the passing mark. But why would he help me? And why had he brought me medicine? Everyone does things for a reason. What did Leo want? "What do you want in return?" I asked. Leo froze, clearly not expecting the question. He frowned slightly and shook his head. "Nothing. I don't want anything in return," he repeated. I felt a playful urge to tease him, so I walked slowly toward him. "Really?" Leo stood his ground, not moving an inch, until we were only a few inches apart. Then he turned his head away, pressing his back against the white wall. He smelled like fresh laundry and sunlight. It was a nice smell, way nicer than the cologne Jake wore, the kind that made your head spin. The bell rang for class, and the hallway was silent except for the sound of our breathing. The stairwell corner was a blind spot for the security cameras. Mia Hale, what the hell do you think you're doing?" Jake appeared behind us, his left arm still in a cast. His eyes blazed with anger, and he clenched his right fist, striding forward to grab my wrist. But Leo stepped in front of me first, blocking his path. He looked up at Jake evenly. "This is a school." Jake laughed bitterly. "Oh, you know it's a school. Then what the hell were you two about to do? If I hadn't shown up, would you have kissed her?" He turned to me, his voice dripping with venom. "So that's why you've been acting like this, huh? You've got a thing for Leo now. What's he got that I don't? More money, better looks." Jake was the same as always, never looking at himself, always blaming everyone else. I smiled mockingly. "He doesn't need money. I have plenty. And for the record is better looking than you." Leo was cold as ice, but his face had been plastered on the school honor roll for years. And half the girls in school had crushes on him. There'd even been a poll on the school forum once. I'd gone to vote for Jake, but I'd accidentally clicked on Leo instead and his votes had skyrocketed. "Mia, don't forget you're my girlfriend." Jake's face turned purple with rage, his temples throbbing, but I didn't care. I glanced down at his cast and said, "Looks like getting beaten up wasn't an accident after all. You're stupid enough as it is. And now your memory's gone too. You should ask your dad to take you to a doctor and get you some pills." Dealing with Jake was exhausting. I grabbed Leo's hand and started to walk away. Jake tried to follow, but Leo glanced back at him once and he stopped dead in his tracks, his face suddenly unreadable. Leo wasn't lying about tutoring me. After evening study hall, I grabbed my backpack to go home, and he was already waiting for me by the door. Jake hadn't been seen since that morning, and neither had Luna, but his friends were still there, talking trash about me under their breath. "So she's cheating on Jake now. Jake's got it rough. He gets his arm broken. His girlfriend doesn't care, and now she's running off with another guy." I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. I counted to 3 in my head, but I couldn't hold it in anymore. I unscrewed the lid of my thermos, walked straight up to them, and poured the entire contents of hot tea over their heads. Water and tea leaves dripped down their faces. "Mia, are you insane?" I screwed the lid back on slowly and smiled sweetly. "I just thought your mouths smelled bad. I was doing you a favor by washing them out, and you don't even thank me. Rude." I sighed dramatically. then walked out of the classroom amid their yelling. I felt much better. Leo followed behind me, his steps steady. You don't have to do that yourself. I smiled but didn't answer. Some things you have to do yourself. If you wait for someone else to fight your battles for you, what happens when that person isn't there anymore? What happens when they betray you? Jake was a perfect example, but at least I'd been smart enough to cut my losses. To not hold on to someone who was only going to hurt me. Luna didn't come back to school for the rest of the USMO preparation. She took a long leave of absence. And so did Jake. If it hadn't been for Jake's friends constantly telling me that he'd taken Luna sailing, stargazing, and skiing, I would have thought they'd been killed by that masked attacker. Honestly, I did feel a tiny little bit of regret about Jake. Our parents had arranged our engagement since we were babies. I'd grown up knowing I was going to marry Jake. And he was going to marry me. He'd always protected me when we were kids. He'd given me all his allowance, saved up nearly $30 million for me, called it my personal savings fund. A man's money is where his heart is, he'd said. Back then, I'd believed he meant it. But things change. The next time I saw Jake was the day Leo and I signed our early acceptance letters to MIT. He was standing at the school gates, wearing a tracksuit, his cast finally off, holding a bouquet of flowers. He walked up to me with a smile and reached for my backpack, but I stepped back. His hand froze midair, but he didn't get angry. It's been so long. Mia, you really haven't missed me at all, have you? I'm not like you. I've missed you like crazy. He mumbled it under his breath. I frowned, confused. I had no idea what he was up to, until he said, "Come on, my dad invited your dad over for dinner tonight. We're celebrating you getting into MIT. And talking about our engagement party after graduation." I froze. Even Leo, who'd been standing behind me, stiffened slightly. I'd been so busy with the USMO, and my parents were always away on business, that I'd completely forgotten about the engagement. "Didn't you tell your dad we broke up?" I asked. Jake pretended not to hear me and smiled. "I know you're still mad at me, but I'm not mad at you," I interrupted calmly. "We're broken up." Jake couldn't pretend anymore. He bit his lip and glared at Leo, then turned back to me. "Is it because of him? Mia, do you have any idea who broke my arm?" "It was him, Leo Bennett. You think he's into you for who you are? No. He just wants to climb the social ladder. He wants to get rid of me so he can be with you. You're smart, Mia. Can't you see that?" His voice rose as he spoke, filled with accusation. Leo said nothing, didn't even try to defend himself. His face was blank, as if Jake were talking about someone else. I was only slightly surprised. I didn't feel much of anything. Actually, it just made sense. But Jake couldn't handle my calm reaction. His eyes turned red. "Mia, are you even listening to me? He's just a poor kid using you. Don't you see?" "What about Luna?" I asked softly. Jake froze. See, he knew perfectly well. No one gets close to someone like him for no reason. But he'd let Luna cling to him, even broken up with me for her. Why? Because he loved the way she worshipped him. The way she looked at him like he hung the moon. He loved having two women fighting over him. I wasn't going to deny that Leo might have had his own reasons for getting close to me. But had he hurt me? No. And if he hadn't, why should I care? It's fine if someone has an agenda. I have my own too. If I'm willing to give them what they want, at least I'm in control. The scariest thing is when someone wants nothing from you at all. Jake, you're not a kid anymore. It's time to grow up. The college entrance exams are in 2 months. Your dad worked hard to give you everything you have. Don't let him down. I started to walk past him, then stopped and added, "Oh, and one more thing. I don't say anything. But that doesn't mean I don't know. You slept with Luna. You kissed her. And now you're here, coming back to me. You make me sick to my stomach." This time, I didn't look back. Jake stood frozen in place, unable to say a word. The flowers slipped from his hand and fell to the ground. He felt suddenly lost. After that fight with Mia, he'd been so angry he couldn't think straight. Luna had come to him crying, saying Mia had stolen her USMO spot. He'd been even more annoyed. But he didn't want to fight with Mia again, so he'd taken Luna away on a trip to get her mind off things. Luna had never seen anything outside of their small town. and everything was new and exciting to her. He admitted he'd let her get close at first. She relied on him. She flirted with him. She was nothing like Mia. Mia was independent and strong, rational and clear-headed. Sometimes he never felt like she loved him, like she needed him, so he'd started to doubt their relationship. He'd even wondered if he'd be happier with Luna. But after a month, he'd found out the truth. He wasn't. He loved Mia. When he kissed Luna, all he could think about was Mia's rare shy smile. When he slept with Luna, all he could think about was what Mia would be like, if she'd cling to him, if she'd call him baby the way Luna did. She probably wouldn't, but it didn't matter. Mia was all he could think about. She was the little girl he'd pulled from the fire. The girl he was supposed to marry. When he heard Mia had won the USMO and gotten into MIT, he'd been happy for her, but he'd also been terrified. He'd felt like he was losing her forever, so he'd rushed back from the island. Begged his dad to invite the Hales over for dinner. He wanted to hold on to Mia, tighter than ever, but he'd been too late. Mia didn't want him anymore. A cold, crushing regret washed over him, paralyzing him where he stood. The next time I heard about Jake was from my dad. After we got our early acceptance, I stopped going to school. I went to visit MIT early. Sat in on a few classes. Leo was with me the whole time. We never talked about what Jake had said that day, but I'd already known the truth. Jake had bombed the college entrance exams. His scores were only good enough for a second-tier university. Luna, who'd always been a good student, had gotten into a huge fight with her mother the night before the second day of exams. They'd pushed and shoved, and Luna had fallen down the stairs. She'd lost a lot of blood. That's when her mother found out about her and Jake. She'd been pregnant. Luna's mother had demanded $3 million in compensation from the Carters, threatening to go public with the story if they didn't pay. Mr. Carter had been furious, beaten Jake within an inch of his life, and locked him in his room for a week. Jake had tried to find me, but he couldn't. The Reeds, seeing how easy it was to get money, started blackmailing Jake constantly. They even demanded he marry Luna. In a fit of rage, Jake had grabbed a fruit knife and stabbed Luna's mother. Luna had gone completely insane from the shock. A neighbor had heard the screaming and called the police. In the end, Jake was sentenced to 9 years in prison, 18 years old, the prime of his life. And he had nothing left. He'd asked his dad to give me a letter. I didn't read it. I threw it in the trash, along with all the hearing aids Jake had bought me over the years. That was the end of us. When I was 25, Leo proposed to me. I said yes. By then, he was the youngest professor at MIT. He had everything: fame, status, money, and finally, he told me what he'd been hiding for so long. I love you. I asked him when he'd fallen for me. He smiled. A long time ago. So long ago I can't even remember. Maybe it was in middle school, when you always got perfect scores in math. Or maybe it was when I saw you smiling at Jake, bright and confident.